Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a super cool puzzle where it is white to move with a king and a queen against crazy material for black. 2 rooks, 7 pawns, and of course a king. So try to see if you can find the sequence here for white that wins this game. It is crazy the amount of moves the queen can make to make this a win. While you're thinking about this, let me quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn in this channel goes directly to charity, so every like, every subscriber helps me out so much. Okay, was that enough time for you to figure this out? Let's find out. So clearly the first move is a queen move, right? Because the king has no moves. You go here, and what's that going to do? That's not going to do anything. This will allow the king to get out, and then things will start coordinating. Doesn't really work very well for white. So the queen's the thing you want to move. Now you have to figure out what is the goal here. I already mentioned I'm going for a win, but you have to realize that you can get more than a draw. So let's say, for example, you decide to play queen e1. Okay, after the rook blocks, what do? You don't have any check here. You could take this pawn, but it seems like the king will then get out. Something like this, and surprisingly there aren't very many good checks. This is just going to be a draw. Right, I'm attacking here, and a best move is here, but again, you just repeat, this is going to be a draw with best play. Okay, so you have to really anticipate what to do after this rook move, and this is kind of the first move that is important to understand in the sequence. So right now, if your queen can just magically teleport to b2, it would be checkmate. Unfortunately, you can't do that. So instead, you can threaten checkmate on one of these 3 squares. Or you can move to f2 and threaten checkmate. You can move to e2 and threaten checkmate, or d2. Now, interestingly, only one of those squares is the right square. Now, this is the big question. Which one and why? Okay, if I play queen f2, they can hit me with rook c3 check, and if I do this, there's no problem here. Pawns are going down the board, right? So I'm just going to keep pushing this pawn. Maybe one day I'll get my other rook out. This is not a problem. This is a draw, according to the computer. Okay, what about queen e2? Well, it's the same thing. Right, queen c3 or rook c3 check, the king takes, and then you just start pushing pawns, and eventually you'll be able to maneuver. That's the idea, at least. Okay, and this check does not win a rook because the rook would block. Okay, and even if they take this, this is still, they take this, it's still supposed to be a draw with best play. Now, what's the difference with this other move? Queen d2. Well, it blocks off this, so they can no longer go here because this will just be a simple mate in 2. So they have to do something else. And this is the crux of the puzzle. So now is kind of your last chance to see the winning idea, and I really recommend trying it out before you watch the whole video. It's really cool. Okay, the only way to prevent mate is to play rook c2, right? They have to block off this square from your queen's sight. Okay, now here's the big maneuver. You can play queen d1, to which they're going to have to block again, and then you can play queen d3, and after they block, you make the very nice move queen e4. Now what is this doing? This is putting them in zugzwang. So the point here is if this king were to move like this, that would be mate in 1, right? This queen is kind of blocking these squares off. The king cannot run backwards. So this whole puzzle is meant to let black waste their moves. And in this position, black has to make a move. They can move this pawn, and they can't even move this rook. So let's just say they play the move that looks the most natural here, a6. Well, now you just do a little repetition. Queen e1, rook blocks, queen d2, saying, hey, I'm threatening checkmate. What are you going to do about it? Well, now the queen again has to go, or not queen, the rook has to block. Queen does this, this, and look, here we are again. Queen e4. Okay, a5, right? Trying to waste all the tempi that we have as black. Okay, queen e1. I'm just gonna go a little faster. Queen d2, threatening mate. You have to block. Check. Okay. Check again. You make this move. Now they have to play c4. Right? What else could they do? Nothing. Except for walking into mate, of course. Okay, now, does this same idea still work? See how far you can calculate. It does not. If I go queen e1, this same maneuver doesn't work anymore because that square is now occupied by the pawn's defense. So now you make use of a different check, namely queen h1. So queen h1 check, rook c1. Now, you don't go back, because that's not going to accomplish anything. Instead, you go queen h7 check. And after the rook blocks, then you make use of e4 again. Super nice. Right, look at the technique here. Okay, they have c5 or they have c3. Doesn't really matter, right? Well, if they play c3, we'll just go with that. It's the same idea, the other way around. Okay, now what do you do here? Seems like you just repeat. Queen e1. They go here. I think you probably can go to h1. Let's do that instead, now that I say it. Queen h1, and then the rook blocks. Go here. I was going to say the queen blocks. The rook blocks, you go back to h7. They have to either block with the pawn, which if they do that, will result in mate immediately. So don't do that. Block with the rook, in which case I go back here, and the puzzle kind of repeats. Or they can just give up the queen, or the pawn right away, in which case you just take it, and it still repeats. So let's look at the line where the pawn goes. So like this, I play queen e4, c5. Super cool. Okay, rinse and repeat, right? Bang, here, check, block, here. They have to now play c4. They're running out of tempi. They're running out of moves. Queen h1. They have to block. I play queen h7. Now here, they have to play e4 to prolong the game. If they don't, they play queen... I keep saying queen. Sorry about that. If they play rook c2, I play queen e4, and now they have no moves. So they have to go here. So they have to prolong the game by just putting the pawn here. But the pattern repeats itself. And this is pretty much the end of the puzzle. This, and oops, like this. The queen would stay here. And again, the pawn moves. Check, block, check, block. Queen e4 is the final move. And then, well, final move before checkmate. The king is now finally forced to move. And you get queen e1 checkmate. Super crazy. Just look at the geometry of this. I think it's just so valuable to see how that position came about. I love the variations. I was messing with variations all day. It's just fun to see the different ways that it can go down. I just love the technique of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. The geometry of this queen is fantastic, so let me know if you enjoyed it. That's it for now. Thank you so much. Bye.